Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing Eastward for Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by Mitch Vogel for NintendoLife.com and was adapted to video by me. Anyway, let's go Eastward. The line between homage and copycat can often be a blurry one, and it feels like all too often that new games borrowing ideas from old ones fall on the wrong side of it. Instead of offering creative new ideas on favoured concepts, these games are more content to prod you with a sharp elbow as they say, "member," over and over. Eastward is not one of these games. The inaugural release of Shanghai-based Pixpil smartly integrates gameplay and story ideas from beloved classics, while still managing to feel like an original and well-executed adventure. Eastward follows the story of John, a gruff man of action, not words. That's me, baby. And his companion Sam, an energetic and white-haired little girl who he found underground. The two live happily together in a small, subterranean village and enjoy a quasi-father-daughter relationship. But things quickly take a turn when certain events lead them to arriving on the surface that they were told is such a dangerous and awful place. It turns out things aren't quite as bad up there as they were led to believe, although there's a mysterious force called miasma that's slowly rolling over the land and destroying everything in its path. Over the 30 or so hours it takes to clear Eastward, one thing that keeps the story constantly engaging is the heartwarming relationship between Sam and John. Although John never says a word, it's abundantly clear how deeply he cares for Sam. And when the story takes some shockingly dark turns, Sam is there to keep the mood hopeful and sees how many times she can fit the word John into a single piece of dialogue. There's quite a diverse cast over the course of the adventure, but these two are far and away the highlight of the entire experience. But it needs to be said that in several places, the story can feel like a bit of a slog. It can often feel like you're watching the game rather than playing it, as you frankly mash the A button to get through a jungle of text. Then you're finally given control back, only to walk John to the next cutscene. Eastward is thus a great example for illustrating the need for good pacing. The story is well written and most of the characters are quite lovable, but they're foisted upon you so much in endless, unskippable dialogue sequences, it can start to erode your connection with the narrative. But luckily, that doesn't sink Eastward, it just takes some of the wind out of its sails. When you finally get to some gameplay, things unfold quite a bit like a 2D Zelda game. You make your way through labyrinth-like environments rife with treasure, enemies, and puzzles. The main rub of these sequences is quite often you alternate between John and Sam. Sam has psychic abilities and can shoot out energy blasts, whereas John has a frying pan for beating the stuffing out of enemies alongside his limited use of guns and bombs. But mostly, a frying pan. There's a fine balance being struck here, wherein the puzzles feel just difficult enough to be satisfying, but not so hard that they're discouraging. New abilities and puzzle gimmicks are introduced at a reasonable rate too. This keeps Eastward feeling consistently fresh. Combat, on the other hand, feels like it could have used a bit more work. There's a certain kind of stiffness to swinging around John's frying pan that never feels exactly right, and enemy types are very demanding of very advanced tactics. On the other hand, boss fights are often among the highest points of the whole experience. But this is largely down to their spectacle and focus on integrating puzzle elements from the dungeon itself. We would have liked to have seen more depth in the combat, considering how pervasive it is. It's really more of a constant irritation than a big problem. Treasures that you find in the field will grant you currency and parts to be used in the shops. See, Eastward features a fun little minigame at most save points, where John can use his trusty frying pan as it was intended for cooking. There's a variety of ingredients to be found, whether from shops, chests, or enemies, and these can be tossed in the pan to create new recipes with distinct effects. A little slot machine will play as you're locking in your decision too, and if you've got the dexterity, you can potentially give the dish even greater effects. Little things like this are what give Eastward its delightful charm. Another good example is Earthborn, a Dragon Quest-like RPG that you can play within the game itself. It basically runs parallel to the whole game. Purchasing new amiibo-like toys of monsters can give you an edge here. It's a fun way to break up the flow of the main quest by trying to be something a little different. But what likely drew you into Eastward was the incredible pixel art direction, and we can happily report that it does not disappoint. What's so striking about the visuals is how absolutely detailed they are, packing in a litany of small elements that give you so much to chew on. A series of misshapen posters on the wall, the faded paint of an old boast hole being used as a roof, the flickering neon lights of an old diner's sign. All these elements come together to convey a tremendous sense of place, and we applaud the developers for delivering such an impressive visual style. Pixel art may feel somewhat played out in the indie scene, but titles like this stand as proof that so much can still be achieved. Eastward proves itself to be a memorable and enjoyable mashup of many beloved classic titles, combining each of their elements together to forge something that feels distinct and engaging. Creative gameplay sequences, a heartwarming and emotional story, and a killer art style all combine to make this one easy to recommend. That being said, we'd also offer a word of caution that this is a slow burn kind of game, and if you're not a patient player, Eastward's sometimes lethargic pace may take a lot of enjoyment out of the experience. Wherever you may fall, Eastward is indisputably a game worth checking out, and would encourage you to give it a shot. We here at Nintendo Life give Eastward an 8 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, and of course let us know your thoughts on Eastward in the comments below, and go that subscribe button and play Dragon Quest within it, and we'll see you next time. Bye everyone.